Hey everybody, happy Monday. I just got back from a walk, so I'm looking extra special for you today. But I needed to get out of the house and take a break, a mental break from all the things happening up here. We've had a little bit of an intense morning at the Galvin Institute of Learning today, and I realized it did get better, but that was after I realized that I was letting my anxiety make me edgy and making me not be the kind of person that I was trying to be, and or who I am currently trying to be. And so while I was on my walk, I was reminded of a blog that I wrote about a year and a half ago called Stolen Problems. And it's one of my more popular blogs, probably because it does deal with anxiety. But I wrote it at a time where I was dealing with a good deal of, or dealing with a situation that I was allowing to make me anxious. It was just, I wrote it to process what I was going through, but also to remind myself of a couple of the tools that I had learned at that time in therapy and also in my 12-step recovery program through Overeaters Anonymous. And so it was good for me to go back and read this today to remind myself of what have I learned and what do I need to do to keep myself from being anxious. So anyway, I thought I would share it with you guys, and like I said, it's called Stolen Problems, and I'll go ahead and start. Do you ever have so much anxiety rise to the surface of your life that it makes you act out in ways that are contrary to who you're trying to be? I have, and still do, and I get so discouraged when I act like that. Then along comes the shame, the condemnation, the guilt, the voice in my head. Haven't I learned anything that stuck? Am I only hearing and not applying? What's wrong with me? Am I always going to be this messed up and crazy? I've had to put myself in a timeout many times. Sometimes literally taking a timeout in my bedroom, listening to soothing sounds, writing in my journal, and taking time to beg God to help me. Giving me the space to shift my focus. To remind myself of what I've been learning recently. That even when I drift into a wrong mindset and a wrong focus, I can choose at any time to restart my day, to take the holy pause and say, I can't, God can, so I'll let Him. For this minute, this hour, this day. No matter what the circumstances are, with God, I can do this just for today. I'm not in control of what happens today or tomorrow or next week. I don't know what life will look like in the future, but just because I don't know how something is going to go doesn't mean I have to be anxious about it. I can release it and let God worry about it because it was never mine to hold on to in the first place. As I wrote that last line, I pictured myself running up to God and snatching something out of His hand that He wasn't offering to me. It could be anything really, but as I sit with that image and think about how that plays out, I can see myself crying tears of frustration, fretting over having to carry such a burden that's so heavy and exhausting. I see myself in my mind begging God to help me. I can see Him standing there with His empty hands held out, waiting for me to put this stolen thing back in His hands. Of course it's heavy and exhausting. He never intended for me to deal with it, and it wasn't mine to take on. So I give it back. I return what I have stolen. I don't want to hold on to those kind of things anymore. I want my hands free and open to accept what God actually wants me to have. If my hands are full of all the stolen things that aren't mine to carry, not only do I miss out on what God wants to give me, but I'm exhausted and frustrated, having wasted energy on something pointless. I'm choosing to let go of the problems I keep swiping out of God's hands and refocusing on the truth tools He's given me to hold on to. And then I list out these truth tools. The first one is, I can't, God can, so I'll let Him, which is a paraphrased version of steps 1 through 3, which is also in my Truth Tools, to admit that I'm powerless over whatever's making me anxious, that I need a power greater than myself, which is God's power, to restore me to sanity around whatever the situation is. And the third one is I can make a decision to turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my actions over to God's care for today. I can do this just for today, one choice at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. I don't have to live with fear in the driver's seat. I don't have to lie down on the electric current of anxiety. I can choose to step over. And I wrote here, this was an eye-opening truth that I learned from my therapist. So I'll probably should explain that. So she shared with me when I was in therapy that there was a clinical study done on dogs. They had an electric current running through their cage. And so then there was observations made on when they laid down on this electric current, how did that change their behavior? Did they just keep laying down on it? Or once they realized that it was something that could hurt them, instead of laying down on it, they would step over to get to the other side of their cage and then, choose a different place to lay. And so applying that then to anxiety, is if I know that being anxious about something is going to hurt me, I need to choose a different action. I need to step over that electric current of anxiety that's running through my life and do something different instead of just giving in to the anxiety. So that looks different for, different people, but for me, these things that I have listed out, and I still use these to this day, especially the steps 1 through 3, reminding myself that I can't do this without God and I need His help, and so I'm gonna let Him help me. It's, it takes 10 seconds for me to say that, sometimes, just in my mind, or, a lot of times out loud, and that gives me enough of a pause to say, okay, I need to do this differently. I need to approach this differently. I need to take a step back. I need to take a step away. I need to remember to breathe. And then what's the next right thing? What, especially in this situation where, with life being what it is, what has to happen today? What could wait till tomorrow? What is not really a priority? And, what am I fixating on in my mind that is not even a problem? That it could just be my mind making up things that aren't even really there. So anyway, I share all that with you guys, just to, number one, to let you know if you are struggling with anxiety, you're not alone. There's a lot of us out here that are struggling, and then maybe there's something here that I've shared that will help you deal with whatever you're struggling with today. And again, like I've said in my other videos, if you need prayer for anything or need to reach out, I'm available. You can leave me a comment or you can message me, and you definitely don't have to go through anything that you're facing today. You don't have to go through it alone. So I leave that with you, and I hope everybody has a good Monday, and I will be back tomorrow with something else to share with you. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh well, must not have been important. I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.